Welcome to Daily Biblical History. Today we will explore an inspiring message to strengthen your faith and bring peace to your heart. Leave a like to support our channel and subscribe if you are not already subscribed so you don't miss any of the motivational content we post here. Have you ever stopped to think about what the world was like before the Great Flood? Discover more about the origin of the antediluvian world according to the Bible. The Bible reveals to us a mysterious world full of intriguing events in the pre-flood era. Let's explore this fascinating narrative together. In Part 01, we enter the universe after Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden, a crucial moment in the history of humanity. After being banished from paradise due to disobedience, the couple had to face a new beginning in an unknown and hostile world. Settling in a land marked by pain and sweat, Adam and Eve gave rise to a lineage that would shape the course of civilization. The emergence of the first human family brought with it challenges and responsibilities hitherto unknown, thus inaugurating an era of discovery and learning for all humanity. Part 02. In a world marked by sin and pain, Cain, the firstborn of Adam and Eve, succumbed to envy and hatred, resulting in the first act of violence in human history. When he offered a sacrifice to God, Abel was accepted, awakening the anger and resentment of his older brother. Consumed by rage, Cain took his brother to the field and committed the terrible act of fratricide. Abel's death echoed across the earth like a silent scream that would forever mark the trajectory of humanity. Faced with this brutal act, God confronted Cain, who denied his guilt and was marked as a sign of his transgression. Thus, the history of humanity was stained by the blood shed by Cain, revealing the shadows of sin that hung over the antediluvian civilization. In Part 03, we explore the rise of a society marked by innovation and progress in the antediluvian era. As generations passed, the descendants of Adam and Eve devoted themselves to building cities and honing their skills. Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain distinguished themselves as pioneers in everything from creating musical instruments to smelting metals. Pre-flood society learned the art of architecture, developed advanced agricultural techniques, and expanded its horizons through trade and communication. Under the visionary leadership of the first city builders, the antediluvian world witnessed an unprecedented cultural flowering, revealing the human potential for creativity and innovation. In Part 4, we will explore the evolution of morality and ethics in antediluvian society. The biblical narrative reveals that although sin entered the world through the disobedience of Adam and Eve, humanity was created with the ability to discern between right and wrong. Over the centuries before the flood, men and women developed value systems and ethical principles that guided their social interactions. Although they faced significant moral challenges, such as the murder of Abel by Cain, examples of virtue and righteousness also emerged, such as Enoch, who walked with God. The presence of these moral standards in antediluvian society highlights the complexity of human relationships during this period and sheds light on fundamental questions of human nature and the search for justice and truth. In Part 05, we will delve into the extraordinary technological and cultural development that marked the antediluvian era. With the longevity of people at that time, the transmission of knowledge and the capacity for innovation flourished as never before. The descendants of Adam and Eve, such as Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain, not only dedicated themselves to building cities and trading, but also expanded their skills to new horizons. Pre-diluvian society learned to live in tents, raise herds of cattle, develop arts with musical instruments, and forge advanced tools through work with precious metals. This period was marked by an unprecedented cultural effervescence, where the creative minds of that time shaped a world full of discoveries and impressive technological advances. In Part 6, we delve into the intriguing question of the length of the antediluvian world as described in the Bible. While Scripture does not provide an exact chronology for this period, many scholars and theologians have devoted themselves to investigating and speculating about the length of time between creation and the flood. Some argue that this era may have been much longer than the rest of biblical history, given the longevity of the people and the technological achievements mentioned. Attempts to date this period have been made, but to date without definitive success. The genealogical list in Genesis chapter 5 offers some clues, but its interpretation raises challenges due to the possibility of intentional gaps to highlight key figures. The debate over the length of the antediluvian world continues to be a fascinating topic of study and reflection for those seeking to better understand the primordial events recorded in the Bible. In Part 7, we will explore the spread of sin and corruption in antediluvian society. As time passed, humanity increasingly sank into a lifestyle marked by disobedience and rebellion against God. Biblical accounts reveal that Cain's line of descent strayed from the ways of the Lord, indulging in sinful and immoral practices. Lamech, one of Cain's descendants, was the first to introduce polygamy and glorify its cruelty. Violence and injustice became commonplace in antediluvian society, reflecting a scenario of spiritual and moral decadence. Furthermore, the intermingling of the sons of God and the daughters of men created a corrupt generation that was far removed from the divine will. Ethical and spiritual deviation reached alarming levels, culminating in an environment where evil predominated over good. In this context of widespread depravity, the seeds of divine judgment were sown, preparing the ground for God's sovereign intervention in the face of human wickedness. In Part 8, we will explore the intriguing narrative of the intermingling of the sons of God and the daughters of men in antediluvian society. This encounter between two distinct groups has sparked debate and diverse interpretations over the centuries. Some scholars argue that this union represented a fusion between spiritual and human beings, resulting in a lineage of hybrid beings with superhuman characteristics. This theory raises profound questions about the nature of humanity and the influence of divine entities in earthly history. On the other hand, a more traditional approach suggests that this intermingling symbolized the moral and spiritual deterioration of antediluvian society, where ethical values were corrupted by the unbridled pursuit of power and pleasure. The relationship between the sons of God and the daughters of men generated a generation marked by impiety and rebellion against divine laws, culminating in a scenario of chaos and spiritual decadence. In this context, the separation between the sacred and the profane became increasingly tenuous, leading to disastrous consequences for all humanity. The mixing of different social groups in the antediluvian era reveals the complexities of intercultural and interpersonal relationships in a world immersed in moral and spiritual contradictions. In Part 9, we will delve into the lives and deeds of godly individuals who stood out amid the depravity of antediluvian society. Abel, the first martyr in history, offered an acceptable sacrifice to God, demonstrating his faith and devotion. His unjust death at the hands of his brother Cain echoed as a testament to divine righteousness and justice. Enoch, on the other hand, enjoyed such intimate communion with God that he was translated so that he would not see death. His exemplary life and spiritual walk serve as a beacon of hope amid the moral darkness of the age. Finally, Noah stood out as a righteous and upright man in a corrupt generation. His obedience and faithfulness to God made him worthy of being saved from the flood that inundated the earth. These individuals represent the faithful remnant who persevere in the face of adversity and remain steadfast in their faith even in the face of the greatest trials. In Part 10, we contemplate the dramatic conclusion of the antediluvian era, marked by divine wrath and the flood that devastated the earth. The scenario of sin and corruption reached an unsustainable point, leading God to take drastic measures to purify creation. The biblical account of the flood reminds us of divine justice and mercy in perfect balance. While the waters covered the earth and extinguished all life, hope remained alive in Noah's ark, which preserved God's chosen remnant. The story of the flood is a powerful reminder of God's sovereignty over creation and the importance of obedience and faith in the midst of adversity. Just as in the antediluvian era, we are called to reflect on our choices and priorities, preparing ourselves to face the challenges of the present with wisdom and discernment. Write in the comments what you think about the pre-flood world. Subscribe to the channel for more biblical content and discover our study options in theology. Knowledge about antediluvian history invites us to reflect on our choices and our relationship with God. May we learn from the mistakes of the past to build a better future. Are you enjoying the message? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this motivational word today. And leave your comment. We want to know how this message impacted your life.